So we all know that the upcoming Thunderbolts movie is bringing Sentry into the MCU. But what if Thor actually ended up killing Sentry? Crazy, right? And get this might all go down in Thor 5. Now let's be real, we're all pretty excited for Thor 5, especially since we need to see Ryan Reynolds in there after Deadpool and Wolverine. So here's what we know about Thor 5 so far. First, let's dive into how Sentry might make an appearance in Thor 5. Even though Sentry hasn't officially shown up in the MCU yet, he's pretty much confirmed to be part of the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. In that film, Lewis Pullman's character Bob is expected to be revealed as Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry. The first trailer for Thunderbolts gave us a hint of this, with some cool shots of bullets bouncing off Bob and a glimpse of Sentry's signature belt. Now, even though Secret Invasion didn't quite hit the mark, it did set the stage for a potential adaptation of the comic storyline Siege. At the end of that series, the President declared war on all aliens on Earth, which led to rogue groups hunting down Skrulls. With the Asgardians now living in New Asgard, this could mean they'd face some serious persecution. In the comics, Siege involved characters like Norman Osborn attacking Asgard, which used to be in the US. While Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin got sent back to his universe, Secret Invasion hinted at a different kind of siege in the MCU, with various groups potentially targeting New Asgard. Sentry's ties to the Thunderbolts make the idea of him showing up in Thor 5 even more plausible. In the comics, Sentry was one of the first to attack Asgard during the siege event, acting as Osborn's top weapon. In the MCU, we could see Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine stepping into Osborn's shoes, taking charge of Sentry and setting the stage for a siege-like scenario in Thor 5. This could be a fantastic way to bring Thor back to a more serious tone, steering clear of the blandness we saw in Thor: The Dark World. Considering the timing of Sentry's debut and Valentina's role in the Thunderbolts, it's easy to see how Sentry might end up going head-to-head with Thor. Plus, Sentry has a darker side known as the Void, which could spell disaster for everyone in Asgard. He's taken out millions in the comics, making him a terrifying villain for Thor 5. So, all of this points to some really exciting possibilities for Thor's next solo outing. And there's a seriously intense storyline that could work well for Thor 5. In the comics, Sentry starts dealing with some heavy psychological issues thanks to the Void, which drives him to isolate himself from his friends and other heroes. When Norman Osborn starts putting together his own Avengers team, he manipulates Sentry into joining his Dark Avengers series by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Deodato Jr. After Osborn gives Sentry another dose of the Golden Sentry Serum, the Void returns and agrees to work for him. As Sentry carries out Osborn's orders, the Void starts to take more control, especially when Sentry faces off against the Molecule Man and even tries to incinerate himself in the sun. When Osborn declares war on Asgard, which was floating over Broxton, Oklahoma, the Void-possessed Sentry leads the charge against the Norse gods, starting in Siege by Bendis and Oliver Copiel. Under Osborn's command, Sentry brutally rips Ares in half and completely decimates Asgard. After a savage battle with the Avengers and Thor, Sentry eventually regains control and begs the heroes to kill him in Siege. Although they hesitate at first, Thor ultimately ends up killing Sentry when the Void takes over again. To prevent the Void from coming back, Thor flies Sentry's body into the sun. But as with all comic book characters, this isn't the end. Sentry eventually gets resurrected by the Apocalypse Twins as their new Horsemen of Death in Uncanny Avengers. With Doctor Strange's help, Sentry learns to manage the Void's influence and creates a pocket dimension in his mind called Sentry World. However, things take a dark turn when his sidekick Scout breaks in, leading Sentry to merge with the Void and kill Scout in the Sentry. Following Mr. Fantastic's advice, Sentry travels to the Negative Zone to separate from the Void. They manage to split, but the Void takes charge of the Cancer vs. Scourge, leading Sentry to briefly merge with the Silver Surfer to deal with the invasion. Eventually, Sentry faces Null, the dark god of symbiotes, who tears him in half in King in Black. Valkyrie helps Sentry's spirit move on, while Clea and Doctor Strange ensure his corpse isn't used to host angry ghosts. Although Sentry's original time might be over, his powers are still influencing a new generation of heroes and villains in Sentry. Now, on top of all this, there's a great reason we need Ryan Reynolds in Thor 5. Chris Hemsworth has had more solo MCU movies than any other character, and it looks like that's not stopping with Thor 5. While this movie isn't confirmed yet, a lot of us are hoping to see Thor bounce back after the mixed reception of Thor: Love and Thunder. Introducing Deadpool into Thor's storyline after Deadpool and Wolverine could really bring a fresh tone and exciting new adventures for the God of Thunder. There's a scene in Deadpool and Wolverine where Thor is seen crying over a dying Deadpool in what Mr. Paradox describes as a distant future. They even used archived footage from Loki's death in Thor: The Dark World for this moment. With Deadpool frequently mentioning Hemsworth's Thor, it's clear these two will be connected in the MCU's future. I really think Thor 5 would be the perfect spot to explore this connection. Deadpool and Thor's references in Deadpool and Wolverine are far from random. These characters have teamed up and clashed in Marvel Comics before. Their encounters often lead to epic battles, primarily because Deadpool's constant chatter drives Thor crazy. While Thor usually manages to win these skirmishes, there are moments where Deadpool pulls off a surprising victory, like in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. In Deadpool's 2012 solo run by Jerry Duggan, Brian Posehn, and Tony Moore, Thor and Deadpool team up right from the start to tackle a giant monster in New York. Though Thor has dispatched Deadpool on several occasions, thanks to Deadpool's remarkable regenerative abilities, he always comes back, sometimes even after being torn in half by Thor and Luke Cage. With all this history, it's exciting to think about how some of these hilarious and wild Deadpool stories could make their way into the MCU, especially in Thor 5. There's been a lot of discussion about the tone of Thor 5. The first two Thor movies were darker and more serious, while Thor: Love and Thunder leaned too much into comedy, which resulted in mixed reviews. The key to a successful Thor movie seems to be a balance of serious and humorous elements, as brilliantly showcased in Thor: Ragnarok. Introducing Deadpool, who seamlessly blends comedy and drama, could help reset that tone for Thor. Deadpool's films have often profound moments that are amplified by his humor. Unfortunately, Love and Thunder missed out on that emotional depth, so it's crucial for Marvel Studios to recapture the magic that worked so well in Ragnarok for Thor 5. Given the tremendous success of Deadpool and Wolverine, it wouldn't be surprising if Marvel Studios greenlit sequels to Ryan Reynolds' MCU debut. The film had the biggest opening weekend for any R-rated movie ever and solidified Deadpool as one of Marvel's most beloved characters. It's logical for Marvel to capitalize on this momentum, and future sequels could easily feature more MCU heroes, including Thor. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.